Performing the World is a growing community of people looking for or experimenting with positive social change efforts that contribute to a more peaceful, democratic, and equitable world. Many hundreds of them participate in what is now an annual gathering, conference, showcase, as well as an ongoing movement. Most of the presenters at PTW events are innovators approaching play, performance, and the arts as creative and positive ways of engaging social problems, activating communities, and experimenting with new social and political possibilities. They are interested in not simply protesting what we're against, but creating what we need and want on the ground. The focus of Performing the World is on performance activism, on new ways of creating power through play and performance. Performing the World was initiated by the East Side Institute as an in-person conference in 2001 and continued as a physical get-together in New York until 2020, when the COVID pandemic forced it online. While the intimacy of being in the same space was lost, going online opened PTW to new people who didn't have money to fly to New York or who lived in countries that the US denied visas to. Zoom does away with airline tickets and national borders. More grassroots organizers and people from a wider range of nations were able to participate. Last year, we introduced watch parties. People who had registered to PTW invited family, friends, students, colleagues to get together in schools, community centers, libraries, and homes to watch a session together and talk about it afterwards. Thus, PTW opened up even more and became a hybrid activity, combining Zoom and personal interaction. For more information and to join the community Performing the World, you can visit www.performingtheworld.org or Eastside Institute, www.eastsideinstitute.org.
Hello. Welcome back. I hope everybody had a chance to grab a bite, take a stretch. Welcome back to Performing the World. This session is called, is the Parent Circle Creating Conversation Amidst War. Before we go to that, a couple of things. One is immediately following this session, we will go right into our closing ceremony, and you won't want to miss that. We're going to give you some chances to think about what we've done together, create together, meet some people. And just in line with that, I was, I believe it was yesterday, I was talking with Lois Halterman and Dan Friedman and Desiree, and we were commenting on how amazing it's been that people are actually reaching out and making connections right there during the session, right? People are saying, I want to know more about this work. I'm doing this. I'd love to connect to that. So in a small way, I wanted to continue that. What I'd love for everybody to do is, if you can, find somebody, a participant in here today who you don't know, or at least you don't know very well. So you can look through the list of participants by clicking participant on the bottom of the screen and find somebody. And if you click on the more button, you can chat privately with that person. So send them a note, say hi, introduce yourself in 1 or 2 sentences to absolutely anybody in that list, but particularly somebody you don't know very well. I'm going to write to Abir Aramin. You don't have to tell us who you're going to write to. All right, I hope everybody had a chance to say hello to somebody. You can continue as I bring up, I'm going to bring up my dear friend and colleague, Sue Davies, who's was instrumental in creating and making sure this session could happen and in introducing us to the parent circle. And she is going to introduce them to you. And remember, stay on at the end because we're going to go right into our closing session. Go take it away, Sue.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. So I am really pleased to have all of you meet the Parent Circle. I first met the Parent Circle Family Forum in a small room in East Jerusalem in 2002, and I've followed them ever since. At that meeting, I got a chance to meet Abir Aramin and Smadar Elhanan, who are actually the fathers of Guy and Arab, who are going to lead this workshop. And they shared their journeys from growing up in Palestine and Israel and the death of each of their daughters. And what impacted me the most was how they talked about using their pain and anger and desire for revenge to build the parent circle. And the parent circle is made up of more than 600 families, Israeli and Palestinian, who have lost children to the conflict, to the war that's been going on for 75 years, essentially. And after October 7th, I was particularly moved to see how they continue to try to build together and to create new conversations, to actually share each other's pain and anger and love in the midst of a war that was supposed to set everyone against each other or continue to acerbate that. So I'm honored to introduce Abir Aramin and Guy Elhanan. In 2007, Arab's sister Abir was killed in front of her school by a rubber bullet shot by the border police. And in 1997, Guy's sister Smadar was killed by a suicide bombing. And they're both leaders, actually the next generation leaders, if I can say that, in the family circle and showing how you can create new possibilities for both Palestine, Israel, the world, and all of us in the midst of war and division. So I'm going to turn it over to them and thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for inviting us. I would like to salute my friend and brother, Arab, that I haven't seen for a long time. And for us, these are opportunities to meet. So this makes it especially moving for me. Me and Arab did many conferences together. And our connection and the connection between our families, well, allows us to tell it a bit differently each time, according to how we feel and according to the situation around us. And this time I thought, and Arab and I agreed that, well, we will tell our personal stories, and after which we will have a debate. You will have, we invite you to ask as many questions and as difficult questions as possible. We are very accustomed to difficult questions. So yes, so thank you for this, and thank you for your opening words. I will start with a few words about the Families Forum for anyone who doesn't know yet, or the full name would be the Israeli-Palestinian Bereaved Families Forum for Peace and Reconciliation. It's an organization that has over 600 families of both sides, all of them bereaved by the conflict. And I think, well, we do many projects and very vast work around both populations, Israeli and Palestinians, but I think above it all stands the conferences like this one, but also conferences to Israeli high schools, to Palestinian students when it's possible via Zoom or other ways. And I think the peak of it all is the summer camp, in which Arab and I were counselors this summer in Cyprus. Summer camp that brings together Israeli and Palestinian youth from 14 to 18 from bereaved families and from activist background. And this time we had the great luck and help that brought us to do it in Cyprus. We couldn't have done it in our country like we do every year for the past 17 years, I think. So yes, I will come to this very special experience of the summer camp and also of using performance tools between the children who tell each other's life stories. I would like to speak about my personal story in a very concise way, and then move on to what I believe has been well, the positive outcome of our choices, or my choices, or my family's choices. My sister Smadar, that's how you pronounce the name. Smadar in Hebrew, it means the flower bud of the vine tree. She was 14 when she died. She was killed, murdered in the city center, Jerusalem city center, West Jerusalem, by two suicide bombers from the area of Nablus. It happened on the September 4th, 1997. And Smadar was on her way to buy. Oh my God, there's an alarm. I'm sorry.
Should we switch?
Yes, there's an alarm. I'll join you as soon as possible.
Of course.
Anybody? Actually, I can take you with me if you. בלי לחץ, בלי לחץ. בואי מתוקה.
מה קרה, אתם בסדר?
הכל בסדר, אנחנו במרחב המוגן. We are safe, we are at the safe part of the house. We're supposed to wait here for 10 minutes.
Okay. Guy, obviously do whatever you need to. We're here and we are with you.
אני לא אראה בלי רשות. אותך אני יכול.
Should Arab maybe take over for now until you are situated, Guy?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's hear Arab.
Okay.
Yes.
אוקיי, גיא, אז אני אתחיל ואני מקווה שהכל יהיה בסדר וממש רגוע. Hi everyone, my name is Abir Aramin. I am a Palestinian guy. I was born in East Jerusalem on the 14th of January. And my story, it's start in 16th of January 2007. Before I tell you my story, I would like to share with you two things about my hero. The one, because of him, I is still alive and I'm able to speak to you today. My hero is my father. His name is Bassam Aramin. He was in the Israeli jail for 7 years. And he get arrested in the age of 16, and his crime was to throw stones on the soldiers who was broken into the village where my father growing up. And 7 years in jail, it's a long time, too many things going on over there. And when my father get out of the jail, he met my mother, and then they have 6 kids. I am the oldest one. And since I start to understand things in life, I start to ask a lot of questions, and I drove my father crazy by my questions, and especially about the jail and the jailers and how they were treating my father over there. And he never answered my question, and I didn't know why he's not answering. So I will stop here with my hero, and I will start with my story. As I said, then on the 16th of January 2007, an Israeli soldier shot and killed my sister Abir in front of her school for no reason. Or maybe the only reason it was there because she's a Palestinian girl. Abir, she was only 10 years old. She was the third child in the house. But for me, she wasn't just a sister. She was my best friend. She was my partner in the house. And I remember that in that time I was so naughty boy, slapping the kids in the school and going back to her to tell her I'm so strong and no one can beat me. And she was always telling me how to behave good, how to be a good boy. But also, unfortunately, my second mother, she's not there anymore. And you know, the nature of our, like the nature of the humans, if anyone slaps anyone, like we want to take even and to give it back. And that's what I wanted to do 17 years ago. And especially in the age of 13, I wasn't know there is a human being the other side. Because all most of the Israelis that I have made until that age, only the soldiers who standing on the checkpoints, searching me, searching my family, searching my people, or the soldier who was come to my house at 5 o'clock in the morning, broken the door, taking my father from the bed because he has a Palestinian ID and my mother, she has an Israeli ID, and they can't be together in the same bed without permission for my father. So, you know, in the imagination of a little kid, there is no human being. And also, I thought in that time that the Israelis, they never died. They doesn't lose people, just we Palestinians. So I wanted to take revenge, and I wanted to kill all the Israelis around the world because they killed my sister, and I was that mad and angry. And I remember also I was mad at my father, and a lot of times I was calling my father as a cheater because he keep talking to those Israelis who killed my sister. And my father said, "You're right. One Israeli soldier shot and killed your sister, but more than 100 Israeli people was next to me in the hospital for 3 days. So you have to look out. You have to get out of that black box you fall in." And after what happened to my sister, I didn't go anymore to the school. I couldn't go anymore to the school because my school in front of my sister's school, and we was going together from the house to the school, waiting for her to get out of the school to go back again to the house together. So I couldn't make it anymore after Abir. You know, I was imagining her everywhere with me, and here we was playing, there we was laughing, and it was so hard for me. So after that, I also start to lie about the school to my family. I was telling them every day that I'm going to the school, but I was going to my own school, the school that I create for myself, which is the checkpoint, and which is not that far from where I'm living. It's just 5 minutes. So I start to throw stones on the soldiers who standing on that checkpoint. And with the time, I became a professional by throwing stones. And in general, the Palestinian, I don't know if you know or not, with the time, we became so professional by throwing stones on the soldier, unfortunately. So, after a while, one of my father friends saw me on the checkpoint throwing stones and called my father, and he told him, save your son, otherwise you're gonna lose him. So in that day, I went back home, and my hero was waiting for me behind the door. And the first question was, how is your school, Arab? And I said, it's great, and the teachers loves me so much. So my father said, you start to lie, so we have to talk. And we start to talk. And as I said before, I killed my father with my heavy words, and especially in that time with a lot of pain that he has in his heart, you know. I said, you are a cheater and you are a not good father because you keep talking to those Israelis and they also keep coming to our house like what they want from us. So my father told me what I just said before, and he said, revenge bring more revenge, and the blood they bring more blood. And we're not weak people to kill people, but we're very strong people to be against our anger and hate. And my father in that time, he said, you have to change your way because I'm not ready to lose another kid. And what happened to your sister, it's more than enough for me. So in the end, I promised God and my father, and I said, I will never throw stones again, but I will never stop revenging for my sister blood. And actually, my father, he agreed with that. And he said, it's a great. And I went back to my room to start thinking about my new revenge now without, I don't know, without blood, without violence, after I promised God and my father. So in that time, I drove myself crazy more and more. And I went back to my hero and I said, how can I do it now without violence? And my father said, there is too many kinds for revenge, and you can take your revenge without blood, without violence. But first of all, you have to make peace with yourself. And if you could, you can get out of the door. And if not, stay in your room on your bed, much better for yourself and me. So I start to think a lot about my father's words, but I didn't know how can I do it, from where I should start. And I was all the time thinking about it, but I still have my anger, I still have my sadness. And every single minute I'm missing my sister there. And every single minute I remember that we still living under occupation. So I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to deal with it. And it's took with me a lot of time. And then after 2 years of that, I went with my father to Germany, and I went with him to Buchenwald, one of the death camps in Germany, and all the way to there, I will never forget in my life. You know, I thought I'm gonna learn something big from that big Hitler who killed 6 million Jewish people and kind of revenge. And I didn't know what waiting for me over there. Because, you know, in general, like we don't learn that much about Holocaust. And if we learn something, so right away we said it's just a big lie. And why we saying that? Because you know we calling each other as enemies, and we seeing each other as enemies. So you will never believe nothing for your enemy, and everything that he will say and all his history, it's gonna be just a lie in your eyes. And actually, when I went there, when my feet fall on that ground over there after 2 seconds, not more than that, I just start to cry like crazy for the people who lost their life for nothing. And I drove myself crazy more and more. And I told myself in that time, what's going on with me? Like, why am I crying for the victims? And 2 years ago, I just wanted to kill all of them. And actually, I get out, as I said, with a lot of questions, but there is no answers. And there is no answers because I don't know my enemy yet. I don't know nothing about the other side, except they killed my sister. So I went back home with a lot of questions and I couldn't get answers. And I heard something, some sentence, and I'm carrying it with me since then until today, which is if you wanna kill yourself, keep hating your enemy. But if you wanna win your enemy, learn more about your enemy. And to be honest, I didn't want to die, but yeah, I wanted to win my enemy in that time. So the first step that I took to learn Hebrew, and I start to teach myself Hebrew, and after a few months I start to speak not good, but at least I could understand a lot of things, and I can, just explain myself, explain my family, my history, my pain, what's happened to me. And then a lot of things shocked me big time. Because as I said, we don't know each other, or we think that we know each other because of what we're hearing about each other, because of what we seeing on the TV, on the social media about each other. And when I start to talk to Israelis, I start to hear a lot of stories like Guy Elhanan, like Ruby Damlin, like a lot of brothers and sisters that we have now in the parent circle. I shook big time, and with the time, I start to figure out and find that I'm losing a lot of things inside of me, which is the fear from the other side and the hate for the other side. And in 2000, oh sorry, on 2014, I joined the parent circle, and I am the last member in my family in my house that joined the parent circle. And I was one of the, yeah, like in that time I was against my family big time because they joined the parent circle. So it took with me 7 years to understand that my color of blood and Guy color of blood, it's the same color of blood. And our tears, it's just the same. And my pain and his pain, it's the same pain. And I understand after 7 years that behind every Israeli and behind every Palestinian and behind every American or whoever, there is a human being. And we have to talk to each other as a human being. We have to meet each other as a human being. So, Jalaluddin Rumi says, yesterday I was smart that I tried to change all the world. But today I became a wise that I start to change myself first. And if I couldn't change inside of me, I will never change my house. And if I couldn't change my house, I will never change anything outside of the door. So it's very important to talk to each other. And then we will have the options to keep killing each other, or there is a different way. And actually, with my experience in pain, it's not worth it to keep killing each other for the land, because in the end, Both sides, Palestinian and Israelis, we're gonna be under the ground. And instead of making that, big heaven or big paradise for both of us, we're gonna just making it two big graves for those two crazy nations. And with the time, with my experience with pain, I could not keep, just shut up and silent. Because if I will keep silent, there is a lot of Abirs in my side, they will get shot. And there is a lot of Smadars in the other side, they will die. So we have to make different. We have to say something. And especially us, we who lost sisters, and we have every single reason to keep killing each other. Today we're calling each other brothers and sisters and family. Everyone should, everyone can, but it's very easy. We have to get out of the black box that we fall in and to try to see the humanity of each other. And Eagle today or Eagle yesterday, he was my enemy. His father is my biggest enemy in that time because Rami, he always was next my father, always, all the time. And I was fighting my father. Why Rami coming to our house all the time? But with the time, I learned from the humanity inside Rami that there is a lot of a human being in Rami's side. And with the time, my first enemy, he became my lovely uncle. So, TTT, things take time, and we have to have some patience. And actually, I love to talk too much, but I will leave some time for my brother, and I will finish it with Martin Luther King says, tomorrow we will not remember the silence of the words of our enemies, but we will remember the silence of our friends. And I'm calling you friends, please don't keep silent. We need your voice. We need your support. And also, if you will think that you will be pro-Israel only or Palestine only, you won't help us. I'm sorry to say that. You have to be pro-peace and justice and humanity for both sides, Palestinian and Israelis. And I am as a Palestinian guy who lived under occupation since I was born 30 years ago. I'm telling you, from the river to the sea, everyone should be free. And we're doing what we're doing because we have to change tomorrow for my son, for kids. And I think both of us, we don't want to lose a child like our father did. And we don't want to lose a daughter or daughter or son. Yeah, like how, sorry, I said sister or brother, like how we did. And the only way just to talk to each other. Thank you so much for listening. And it's your turn, brother.
Habib, تسلم لي. Thank you so much for your kind words. I empathize with so much of it, and especially when you speak about the same pain. I think it is safe to say that Arab is one of the closest people to me. And this sometimes really annoys people to hear. They think it's fake or it's some sort of romanticizing But the fact is that, well, insisting on the connection, keeping a connection with the circumstances of my sister's death actually allowed me to maintain the connection with her. And I don't think that anyone who maintains a connection with the circumstances of their dearest death could, with the help of that, reach a connection or remember the dear lost ones. For example, if I would, like many other bereaved family members, had chosen the way of revenge and the way of hatred and profounding racism, I would not have this connection with Arab. And I would not have this empathy with Arab as a brother of a little sister, which is a very unique and specific pain. When Arab says how close Abir was to him, I feel the same way about Smadar. We were best friends. It's a part of me that will never, never heal. And the one thing that makes it bearable is this connection. For me, as a theater practitioner, insisting on this, what people refer to in Israel as political theater, but not as an activist. I have been an activist for many years, but I can't say that my work in theater comes from activism or from the simple desire or motivation to end the Israeli occupation. This is something that exists, but this is in the mind. It's not. The heart actually wants to keep a connection with this pain. And this pain of losing young lives is something that is like a plague in Israel-Palestine. Death is very accessible to young people. It's very easy to come by, if it's weapons or if it's construction work accidents or if it's traffic accidents. The numbers are insane, and my plays deal with these issues. Before we went to the safest part of the house, I began to speak about Smadar, my sister. She basically just began her beautiful adolescence when she was taken from us. I think today, through theater, through performance, but also through this connection with Palestinians via the Families Forum and other organizations, I think today I'm starting to reach some sort of understanding. I used to say for many years that speaking to Palestinians is my revenge against fascists. It's a very good thing to say to oneself. But that wasn't the reason why I turned to these issues and these subjects for my plays. And this is not the reason why I speak to Arab or to any Palestinian I became very profound friends with. It's because our destinies are connected, intertwined in a way that we can't detach, whether we like it or not. And the same goes, of course, for the destiny of our countries. We depend on each other. I would like to show you some bits of bilingual work, so you could hear with your own ears how does Arabic and Hebrew sound together on stage. So I will, with your permission, share my screen. So this play, I'll show you a scene from a play called At the Edge of the Abyss. It is subtitled to English, so I chose a bilingual scene that is also subtitled. I hope you can hear and read. Okay, fine. Let's see.
בסדר, מה אני אגיד לך? קצת בעייתי היום, יבש, יש לי פה איזה 2 נוסעים ואני אמורה לנסוע לחיפה, אבל אני לא אסע עם 2 נוסעים ומחכים.
חביבתי, מתגעגע. מה כאילו, באיזה שעה תהיי בבית?
תראה, עכשיו 8?
כן.
אם עכשיו באים אנשים, אני נוסעת. כי בשעות כאלה אין פקקים. אז זה כאילו שעה, מורידה, טק, חוזרת שעה, זה שעה ושעה, אני ב10 בבית גג.
אז לחכות לך. לחמם לך עוף או משהו?
אני ממש אשמח, אתה יודע. אם תחכה לי זה יהיה כיף.
עוף או מרק חדשים?
לא צריך, אני אעצור בדרך.
לא, מה? אל תעצרי בדרך. מה תעצרי בדרך? תעשה לך עכשיו בעיות בסטמק שלך? חביבתי, אני אכין לך עוף, מרק חדשים, וקצת טבולי נשאר. חיים שלי, אני אכין לך אחלה לילי.
רגע, אתה לחיפה? לחיפה?
מגיעה לחיפה, נכון, אה? אז
כן.
את יכולי להביא לי זה?
מה?
תעברי לי וואדי נסנס. יש שם וואפי, את מכירה את וואפי שאינה עובדת איתו, נכון?
כן.
אז יש צ'קים שהוא צריך להעביר לי.
נו מה?
מה? תביאי את הצ'קים ותביאי כנף איתך, מה יש לך?
אני אגיד לך מה הבעיה. אני עוצרת להם בבית הקרונות, החלוץ פינת הרצל. אם אני עוברת דרך ואדי נסנס, זה המון רמזורים ולפחות עוד חצי שעה.
יא לטיף, יא אסתי, כל החצי שעה. את מדאיגה אותי, השתנית. פעם הייתי מבקש ממך משהו, היית מיד עושה. יש לך מישהו?
קודם כל, אין לי אף...
I'm jumping on to another bit. This play basically speaks about the statistics of suicide in Israel.
והם מתאבדים. כל הזמן מתאבדים.
It is divided to an underground world and to the normal world. Here we are at the bureaucratic management of young death, where the data of suicide numbers and accidents are told.
בגבעה הצרפתית, בצומת ג'נין הזאב, בכיכר קלנדיה. רצים אחרי המכוניות, מופעים בבלונים צבעוניים, במסטיקים מתוקים, בעצי ריח, בכלבים שיעננו לך על הדשבורד. מתחננים שתקני, בדמעות, בזרוע חבורה.
And we go back and forth from the real world to the underworld.
خليني اوصل حيفا وبحكي. تجننيش، حل عن ربي. كان بطل. متى؟ شفت فلوس كمان؟ ما اخبت لي ممري ركب. קיבלתם ממני עבודה, תשלמו. שרת התרבות זה לא גשם שאת יכולה להגיד לי עכשיו כשהייתה הצפה או משהו כזה, בקצר ונשרפו המסמכים ולא הייתה תקשורת, אז העברה לא עברה ולא תעבור 3 חודשים. שוטף פלוס כוס אממק. זה נשמע לך בדיוק כמו גשם? דווקא נראה לי שאיכשהו בדיוק התארגנתם על מטריאל.
So basically we tell stories of different people who go up to this, what we call service taxi, Esti is the driver of the service taxi that goes from Tel Aviv to Haifa. The last actor, Dia Mohrabi, spoke about his work as an actor and how he's not getting paid. We'll jump to another play. It's called Farm 54, 45, and tells the story of a young Israeli girl from her childhood trauma until of losing her younger brother till her work in the army as an observer for demolition, on a house demolition. In this scene, she's saying farewell to the person she works with and the farm, while the Palestinian workers who work at the farm
اسمعوا يا جماعة بغني لكم غناء يلا غنوا معي ها يلا رجعوني عيني الله لأيام اللي ما كنا ودعوا علموا أنت بيخلينا ما تشأنا أفتكر ده على الماضي وجيران أنا يوم بعد من أي حمد عليكم اللي شفتوه أنت مسيادة اللي أفتكرت وغير شلخم بالإسلام أنت مكسبين אני מתגייסת לצבא בעוד שבוע. בראבו, אני בטוח שתהיי חיילת טובה.
Yes. And the last piece I wanted to show, I think by this we'll conclude. Yeah. This play is about construction work accidents. Israel has the highest number of construction work casualties, right next to Greece, Portugal, Spain. It all comes from employing immigrants, or in the case of Israel, native Palestinians, without the proper safety measurements.
حكيت مع اخوي حسن. حبيبي انت بكره راح تروح معه الشغل. تخافش على الساعة 5 بتحضر لي حالك.
أنا ابنك برسم بكل محل، على الحيطان، على اللوح، تحت الطاولة وفوق الطاولة، حتى على يوميات برسم.
طيب انت صرت كبير لازم تتكل على حالك ولا يهمك. ابوك هو راح يساعدك.
كيف بدك يكون في تركيز بالصف؟
كون زلمة طيب تطلعي زي اخوك المدلل هذا. ايش لانه بيصور
لما ترجعي لعمك المقاول.
ولا يهمك.
اسمع، الولد ضايع عم بيحلم فيش عنده شو يسوي بالمدرسة. أنا بقول احكي مع أخوك حسن خليه ينزل هالعمار. ليش لا؟ خليه يصمم له شي.
انت سامع عن شاكوش ال5 كيلو؟ شاكوش ال5 كيلو يقع من بين ايديك يجي على رجليك بفرم لك اصابعك تحرك البس البسطات اصلا.
انا هاي رسمات مجبور اخذها معايا عشان افحص. كثير حلوه كمان على البورصه بشرح لنا عن الضفدع وشكل الضفدع وكيف ايدين الضفدع. انا كنت ارسم اصابعي، انا كنت ارسم عينين الضفدع، كنت ارسم الجلد.
اسمع، عندك 13 مفكيخ على 15,000 جنيه. اطار جنيه اصلا اذا المفكيخ بده يجي كان بتصل بحسن قبل ما يجي. بعدين اذا حسن بشوفوا انه في شيء مش منيح بالشغل كان بقول له يجي.
هيك يعني مش بحاجة للطاقية اللي معفنة هاي. لو تحملوا
مش ناسي من وين جاي، من بيت دافي فبحياتي ايامي هي براي. بطلع عليها مبينة هيك فبختارها هون، عيوني فبتذكر انها رسمي فببدأ الون. الازرق هو العمق، الاخضر هو الحياة، الوجع صار موجود فالاحمر بلا.
Okay, I will put the I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. So I will put, of course, this page on the chat so you can see for yourselves. What is it? And I would love to open for questions. I already saw someone asked, where am I? I'm in Haifa, which is in the north of Israel, Palestine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Guy. If you'd like to ask a question, feel free to raise your virtual hand or put your question in the chat. And thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Elise has a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Can you
How
read
did the family circle start and how did you both learn about it?
Okay, the family circle started with one brave father called Yitzhak Frankenthal, whose son was kidnapped and killed as a soldier. This man approached my father in 1997 when my sister died. My father did not accept him, did not welcome him at first. After a while, he invited my father to see a parents' meeting in the president's house, and my father soon understood the effect of this initiative. I think very much like Arab, I resented for quite a while, or respected from afar, this initiative. I was full of anger for many years and was unable to even be close to anything Arab, music, language, people, and I was submerged into pantomime studies in the left bank of Paris, where there are less Arabs than the right bank of Paris. For 2 years, I kept myself Arab free, as they say. and it made me sick, made me completely sick. I think that's what racism does. And I understood that this anger has to go somewhere, and started to speak on behalf of the parent circle while I was in France and Europe. At first as a translator, and slowly I got the hang of it. I see a question.
There's a number of questions in the chat. The first one I see is, how have people responded to your performances?
The performances that I just showed.
Emily, is that what you were asking about?
Yeah, I think
so.
Well, I had my share of censorship, especially for the play of the concerned suicides, because it also deals with military suicide, which is the highest rate in the world, in Israel, and also, of course, the suicide bombers, or the more common way to know this phenomenon is suicide by cop, as it's called in the USA, or suicide by soldier in Israel. There are many cases of young children to the age of 12 threatening soldiers, very armed soldiers, with the magic words Allahu Akbar, which means God is great, but for Israelis it means I'm going to commit a suicide attack. So in my play, one of the characters, and that's the character that made the play censored from the Akko Fringe Festival, and were banned from that festival and cut to pieces by other theaters that accepted it or didn't. The scene of a Israeli-Palestinian student of social work who decided to commit suicide for personal reasons and was granted her wish. But this is about censorship and official. I mean, when the play toured, it was very well accepted by a very hungry, thirsty audience that is sick to its stomach of not hearing about these issues. So I was overwhelmed by the positive reactions to all of the plays from people, from the audiences. There is a very big difference in Israel also between universities who accept such plays and theaters who are afraid to lose their budgets.
Yes. Thank you. This is a question, I believe, for both of you. What international response, dialogue, support have you received, or has the Parent Circle received since 2002? Is there international connections and support for the work?
In 2002,
I don't know whether that number. I think since the beginning, has there been support for the work? Let's not worry about the number. Maybe
1995. It's a very, very largely supported organization with Parent Circle Friends organizations in different countries, and also it has a sort of both Israelis and Palestinians have a very high respect and honor for bereavement. They don't jump as quickly to counter the person they're talking to. They listen, or they pretend to listen, but it works. So I think the only opposition that keeps going for the Parent Circle is basically from the state. The government always opposes the different projects, namely the Memorial Day, the joint Memorial Day that is held every year, and that is canceled every year, and then the Supreme Court cancels the canceling of it, but preventing from Palestinians to get to the ceremony is something that we deal with every year. And of course, preventing us from reaching Israeli schools is something that the government is working very hard on, and well, we're working very hard on our side to keep it going.
Thank you. Arab, you want to add anything? Anything you want to? No? Okay. Marion asked, sorry, go
I
ahead.
would like to answer the question, the next question,
Yes.
which is
Let me read it. Or you're going to read it. Go ahead.
no, you read it.
Can
I
I
mean, I
read?
think-
I'll read
Go
it.
ahead.
The question, how, I just want to say how much I'm, well, I don't really have words, but I've been aware of your organization for a while because I read the book Abir Aramin, and I really encourage people to read this book about your father, and I know a little bit about the censorship that's going on, but how has the ongoing war in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon impacted your ability to keep doing the work inside of Israel and Palestine? And I also appreciate that you both refer to Israel-Palestine every time you mention where you live. Thank you so much.
For your question. Actually, it's very important, especially in Palestine and in Israel, to keep doing what we're doing. And it's very short answer. We only have hope. And if we will lose the hope that we have, that means we will lose everything. And it's not easy also, especially in this time, to talk about peace when the war it's that big and huge. And you know, every single day we're losing a lot of human beings, kids, women, old people. And it's, you know, it's sad, but it will be more dangerous when we will stop talking about what we're talking about. So it's very important, it's very dangerous, but to save people, I think it's miracle. And I hope I answered your question. And also there is another question that I want to steal from you, big brother, before you answer it. I saw here something like, sorry, a question for both of you. Do you believe that there is a two-state solution, or to end the war, or maybe one state? Let me tell you something. It's our dream to have peace and to have a freedom. The Palestinian and the Israeli side, their main goal to have security. And if we will not have a freedom, Israel will never be in security. So one state, two states, 3,000 states with 60,000 flags, we doesn't matter. We doesn't care. We want to live as a human being. And for myself, I want to be, you know, I want to be a neighbor for Guy, not just a brother. And when I want to travel to Guy, it took with me, you know, 2 hours because I'm that far from him. But with the checkpoints, with the occupation that I'm living in, sometimes it's take with me like 4 hours or 5 hours to get there because I have to cross a few checkpoints until I arrive to my brother's house in Haifa. So the states, it doesn't matter.
Thank you,
The most important thing as we believe to have peace, and then everything gonna be easy.
I would like to add that during this summer camp, we were very much afraid that to see the outcome of the war in Gaza on the ability of our of the children to express themselves and to talk with each other. And there was very, very hard and dramatic silences. But I want to tell you one thing about the summer camp that I think somehow shows how we overcome even this war, which is the most terrible war that either of us had ever experienced. When the summer camp started, the Palestinians were telling us an abundance of violent incidents from their daily life. The Israelis in my group, they're 17, 18, they couldn't take it. They had a very hard time. They were silent for most of the week. At the end of the week, the Israelis, with the help of other counselors, dared to speak about their military refusal. And when they spoke about refusing military service, they also spoke about the repercussions that it takes in their families. 3 of them spoke, and 3 of them made the Palestinians tear when they told them their father and mother don't speak to them anymore because they don't want to go to the army. And so I think that in this way, when Palestinians really felt empathy for the families being torn over political dispute, and the Israelis felt very, very closely and very specifically the terrible experience that Palestinians have under the occupation. I was amazed to see these kids in Cyprus this summer. Not fiction. I saw someone ask if I'm speaking about fiction. It's not fiction. Oh, a Paragon. Paragon is sort of fiction. Let's speak about that. Yeah, so I think we'll overcome. I think we get stronger. I hang with my teeth and nails to experience like the one Arab just spoke about coming to Haifa. Arab came to me with his son, and it was amazing. My kids and his kids had such amazing time playing in the water, playing in everything, and they make us forget. They make us forget.
Thank you. Lou, you're going to hold on 1 minute because Mika was waiting to speak as well. Mika, can you unmute? And
yeah, thank you both for what you've shared with us. Arab, what you just said about the Israeli emphasis on security and about that not being possible without Palestinian freedom, that just really that really affected me. I'm from South Africa. I was born in the dying days of apartheid. And one of the things I'm really struggling with as I listen to you both is that during the 80s in South Africa was the height of violence. People were being assassinated, people were being massacred in the townships. And the apartheid resistance movement essentially made the country ungovernable. It was just complete chaos. There was also the BDS movement and growing international pressure. But ultimately, and analysts have said different things about the contributions of all of those forces, but rendering the country ungovernable was a big part of why apartheid fell in South Africa. The white apartheid government would have loved nothing more than for Black South Africans to choose peace. But they didn't. They kept fighting in armed resistance. And so I'm wondering what you understand to be the role of, because the occupation has to end. Apartheid has to end. So how do you understand the relationship between a struggle for freedom that does, where violence begets violence, but also a violent force is not going to yield its power? I don't know how to reconcile with that, and I don't know how you to have that conversation with yourselves and others.
Thank you so much for this. I don't know how to reconcile it either. I think violence is the share of some actors in this place, amongst which are the army and the militant organizations that fight it. And then some of the violence is sort of like fallout from these very big sources of violence. Some of this violence is also shared by people who would perhaps, well, we think so, would profit from another way of dealing. I don't think, maybe differently from apartheid, you tell me, but I don't think the occupation will end in one day in a decision of a government. I don't think either that the occupation is hermetic. I think the Israeli occupation is a failure if you compare it to other occupations. I mean, Algerian French speak more French than Algerian today. Palestinians didn't give up their culture, nor their language, nor their food, or anything. They're exactly the way they were in 1948, of course, with a very big number of casualties, but the culture is the same. It's untouched, barely. I mean, it's not that Israel hasn't tried. Israel has assassinated caricaturists and comedians and musicians. But I do think that the occupation and peace is a sort of a dotted map. And I live between those islands of peace. I keep my life as heterogenic as possible. I can't stand to pass a day without hearing Arabic. And it's possible. Israel can be very hermetic at some places. Jews can pass their whole lives without hearing an Arabic word, or at the least knowing that it is an Arabic word integrated in Hebrew. I prevent that from myself and from my kids. My kids speak Arabic. They learn in a bilingual school. And all these initiatives, wonderful initiatives, that I'm very proud of as a human, as an activist, maybe even as an Israeli. But I will be very proud if Israel would be the one who would stop the occupation and would not resort to outside solutions, which I think are very just, like the BDS, and unfortunately also the armed resistance. But I do believe that we can end the violence by preferring another path. Circles of reconciliation.
I want to make sure to give Arab a chance as well to respond if you'd like for that question.
Actually, I'm feeling that jealous from my big brother, and especially about the way how really he's growing his kids up. And a lot of times I asked him to help me with that. And actually, I look up to him. And that's what also I'm trying to do with my best, not to hide the other side from my kid with those big walls and all the checkpoints that we have around. And I will always remind him that you have uncles in the other side from Elhanan's family. And today, it's not like we and them. Oh, yes, also it's we and them, but how? We who believes in peace and reconciliation and humanity for both sides, Palestinian and Israelis, and them who doesn't believe in what we believe, me and Guy and the 700 families. So I will say a small sentence, which is, I don't have time to hate those who hate me. I'm busy to love those who loves me. So you, the one who choose the way and how the change will be, And if you believed so deeply in the change that you will do, one day you will see in your eyes. Thank you.
I'm really blushing every time Arab asks me for an advice as a father. It's the most warm and amazing experience. This is the hat that Arab gave me.
Turn to your other computer because we can't see it head on. There you go.
This is Arab's hat that he gave me in the summer camp and that my son has confiscated since. It's his hat now.
Actually, about the summer camp, you talked about the summer camp, and you just took me back to the. We are brothers and we are family, but in Cyprus, actually, it's so amazing. It's so amazing time, especially with those kids, after the war and with the war time. And I thought, especially, it's gonna be so hard time on all of us. And it was hard, but always the kids everywhere teaching everyone the humanity that they have inside of them. And sometimes you go to teach them to do something, but instead of that, you learn from them. So, yeah, it was so great. And I always remember you over there, brother.
We
Louis.
had some lovely nights there with the stars.
Sorry, Guy. Louis, did you want to unmute and ask a question?
Yes. Yeah. Hi. I'm actually I'm actually attending the session with 5 other people. And we are in the library in the town of New Paltz. And I want to turn the microphone over to Michelle.
Oh, thank you so much. It's amazing just hearing you talk, and it's healing just hearing you talk. And we're in America, in the US, and I'm so ashamed of our country in fueling the fire for this war. I was arrested with about 120 students in SUNY New Paltz early in the spring for freeing Palestine. And the police were pretty brutal, not like your police, but pretty brutal with us. And that was one of many, many protests. And if you followed just all around the country. And so right now I'm kind of, they dropped the charges, but we're trying to bring charges up on the police because they were, so bad with us. And I'm just thinking of any way, like he said, 2-state, 20-state solution, whatever way, and working with my, trying to affect change with our elected representatives. And, they just won't listen to you, most of them. So just know that there are so many people. And right here in the little library that this is coming from, there's all Jews, for Palestine. And we have these rallies every single week. And I go to both sides because then it's the Israelis against the Palestinians, but there's many Jews for Palestine. And I'll go to the other side and try and just to try and show both sides that, that's what the real thing is to get together and get beyond this. But I guess the question I just wanted to know is, I know the alarm went off, and
And I didn't know what alarm it was. Is there something going on right where you are? And, just our concern for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your concern. I don't think I know or we know more than you. I think our news flashes are quite obscure, but basically you all heard that Israel assassinated Hassan Nasrallah. And since then, it's a very tense environment. There are still missiles to be shot. There's still ammunition to be used in order to rebuy. So I don't think we're not out of it yet. Although they did say that our kids are going back to school tomorrow. So.
Well, thoughts are with you in that. Gwen Lowenheim asks, how do parent circle connections and conversations take place on a regular basis? How do people meet and get together? I would add to that, how do people find out about the work? And yeah. And for me, this also connects to the question of what it's been like continuing this work during this war, and whether people are joining you, whether you're losing people, like what's been the response also of people wanting to be a part of what you're doing. But Gwen's is a very practical question, so let's also get at that. How do you come together? How often?
Well, the parent circle organizes events for uninational. So the Palestinian office organizes for their members and the Israeli for their members regularly. So this is possible. In these events, like separating from Yuval Aramin, the manager of the Families Forum that just left, so the Palestinians joined by Zoom. That's being done since the COVID. There are certain places between Israel and Palestine where both Israelis and Palestinians can enter. Some places near the Dead Sea, near Jerusalem, in Beit Jala, for example. So it's not necessarily always legal, but it's sometimes more possible than others. And of course, there are some Israelis who dare to go meet Palestinians in the West Bank. So that happens too sometimes.
Thank you. And the other question of sort of what's been, I know you shared some of, since the war began, the bigger response legally and illegally, but what about in terms of people wanting to join, wanting to learn more? Has that also been?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you. I don't know numbers of people who left. I don't think people leave the forum. There's been a lot of movement. As you may know, most of the people who got killed on October 7th, are kibbutz members. Many of them are peace activists.
Yes.
So we are expecting, I suppose, new families, new members from the Jewish side. I think the forum does, like they approached our family. I think they approach families in a certain way, but I don't know how.
Just to say that since the war started until today, just 3 families who left and more than 20 families who joined the parents circle.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you, Arab.
Helen, was there a question coming from your group?
Just say, no, the South African. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
They want
now.
to question, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know if you have any relationship with Omdim Bayachad, standing together, and if it's a good idea to join up, or whether it's good. I suppose it could be good to have smaller groups so that they can get to know each other better. And for people that don't know, standing together is a similar organization? Thank you.
Yes, I don't believe there is an official connection between the organizations, but of course we support each other. Standing Together is a relatively new organization that managed to become quite large with the demonstrations to overthrow Netanyahu, and later in the demonstrations today to bring back the hostages. Yeah, people speak about joining struggles all the time. This is probably the hottest subject between activists. I think the most moving thing I saw right now is that the Israeli government tried to force Orthodox Jews to join the army. They gave a struggle that we can all learn from. They wouldn't let it pass in the sense of draft or death. And I would love to see, and I did see secular conscientious objectors and refuseniks standing next to them in the demonstrations in front of prison, of a military prison. So this is something that is very very good, but it is a problem, as you know in the States as well.
Thank you. Any other? We have a few more minutes. Questions, responses?
I just wanted to say how hopeful you bring so much hope and possibility, because especially, I'll speak for myself, but I think the person in New Pulse also was expressing this. As Americans, we know that we could put an end to this, and we don't. And it's very, our government could. And it seems intractable, and it's been going on for so long. And there you are, here you are. And it's an enormous gift of hope and possibility. And one thing I learned from Lois Boltzmann here is, without hope, we're lost. And I think this whole conference has generated a great deal of hope, but this particular conversation as a Jewish activist and a lifelong anti-Zionist. I lived on a kibbutz when I was 19, and I saw the checkpoints, and I saw it, and I knew, as much as I liked life on kibbutz, because it was communistic. So it's just very meaningful, and I just want to express my heart's beating fast, in a good way. Like a stronger heartbeat. Thank you so much. And I love that book of Paragon so much. And a friend of mine came from Israel recently and visited. He's back in Tel Aviv, and he read the entire book while he was here. And it was just very meaningful for me to watch him reading that book and to send him home with all of your stories and your families. Just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, I want to say big hi and big love to my lovely uncle who joined us here now, and one of my heroes on the ground, Abir Aramin. Big kiss to you, uncle.
Can we see him?
If he wants to be seen.
Camera is on.
Yes, he's
there he is.
Your voice.
I'm going to spotlight you so we can give you a hug.
Uncle.
Thank you. Let's give our Parent Circle brothers a big hug and a big shout out.
Thank you.
Guy and Arab, we hope you'll stay. We're going to move into in a moment our final closing session of Performing the World.